Hey everyone, 99% of you watching aren't subscribed. Let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and at 1,000 subscribers, we'll drop special stories just for you.
The first time I realized something was off, I was doing the most normal thing imaginable. I was making a sandwich. It was late afternoon, the kind where the light comes in sideways through the kitchen window and makes everything look softer than it actually is. I had music playing quietly from my phone, something forgettable, and I was halfway through the process of assembling lunch. Bread, cheese, ham, mustard. Simple. Behind me, perfectly still, stood Lyra. She had been on Earth for 3 days. 3 days of careful observation, polite questions, and long silences where she just watched, not in a creepy way. Well, okay, a little creepy, but more like a scientist watching an experiment unfold. Right now, her attention was locked onto my hands. "You are separating the components," she said. Her voice always had that faint dual-tone effect, like two identical voices slightly out of sync. It made even simple sentences feel important. Yeah. I replied, not turning around. "That's kind of how this works. You remove the bread from its packaging. Then you selected internal elements. Now you're applying a spread." I paused, knife hovering midair. "You say that like I'm performing surgery." She stepped closer. I could feel it. She didn't make much noise when she moved, but there was always a subtle shift in the air around her. "It resembles a reconstruction process," she said. "It's a sandwich." She didn't respond immediately. I finished spreading the mustard, maybe a bit too much, but I wasn't about to fix it now, and placed the ham on top. Behind me, Lyra let out a quiet, almost imperceptible hum. I'd learned that meant she was analyzing something. "You are combining organic materials that originated from separate biological sources," she continued. "Grain-based structure, processed animal tissue, fermented dairy product. Yep, that's lunch." She circled slightly to my side now, leaning in just enough to get a better look. Her eyes, silver with faint shifting patterns, tracked every movement. "And you will consume this?" "That's usually the plan." Her head tilted. "But why construct it yourself?" I finally looked at her. "Because I'm hungry?" She blinked. Well, not really blinked. More like a subtle ripple passed over her eyes. "That does not answer question." I sighed, setting the knife down. "Okay, because this is how food works here. We make it. You assemble it." "Sure, that too." She looked down at the sandwich like it had personally offended her. "This is inefficient." I laughed a little. "Oh, definitely. You could obtain pre-balanced nutrient intake through standardized production," she said. "Yet you choose to manually combine elements with no guarantee of proportional accuracy." I stared at her. "You're saying I built my sandwich wrong?" "I am saying there is no defined correct configuration," she replied. "Each unit will vary." "That's kind of the point." She went quiet. That happens sometimes. She just stopped talking entirely, like she was processing something too big to respond to immediately. I picked up the top slice of bread and placed it down, completing the sandwich. "There," I said. "Done." She leaned closer. "May I examine it?" I held it out. "Be my guest." She didn't take it right away. Instead, she scanned it literally. A faint shimmer passed over her eyes again, and I got the feeling she was seeing things I definitely couldn't. "The distribution is uneven," she said. Yeah, I eyeballed it. "There is a higher concentration of condiment on the left quadrant." "Yeah." "The protein layer is slightly offset." "Okay, now you're just roasting me." She looked up at me, completely serious. "I am not applying heat." I couldn't help it. I laughed. "It means you're criticizing me." "Oh." She paused. "Yes, that is accurate." I shook my head, still smiling. "You're unbelievable." "You are consuming structural inconsistency," she continued, as if my reaction hadn't happened. "There is no assurance each bite will provide the same sensory or nutritional experience." I took the sandwich back. "That's what makes it interesting." She frowned slightly. "Unpredictability is desirable?" "Sometimes." I took a bite. "Yeah, definitely too much mustard." "Worth it?" Lyra watched closely. You are experiencing it now. Yep. Describe it. I chewed, thinking, salty, a little sharp from the mustard, kind of soft, kind of chewy. That variability does not concern you? I swallowed. Not really. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she said something that genuinely caught me off guard. You willingly accept imbalance for the sake of sensation. I shrugged. When you put it like that, it sounds deep. It is inefficient. Also true. Silence settled between us. I leaned back against the counter, taking another bite. Lyra didn't move. She just kept looking at the sandwich like it was some kind of philosophical problem. Okay, I said eventually. Your turn. She looked up. My turn? Yeah, try it. She froze. Consume it? Yeah. I do not require this form of nutrient intake. I know, but just try it for science. She hesitated. For the first time since she'd arrived, she actually looked unsure. This is highly irregular, she said. Welcome to Earth. Another pause. Then, slowly, carefully, she reached out and took the sandwich. She held it like it might do something unexpected. This is acceptable to ingest? Mostly. That did not reassure her. She examined it one more time, then very cautiously took a small bite, and then she stopped, completely still. I raised an eyebrow. Well, her eyes flickered again, faster this time. There are multiple simultaneous sensory inputs, she said. Yeah, that's kind of the idea. The textures are inconsistent. The flavor profile shifts between regions. Yep. She took another bite. Slightly bigger this time. This is confusing. I grinned. Good confusing? She didn't answer right away. Then very quietly, yes. I smiled, leaning back against the counter. And that was the moment it hit me. To me, this was nothing. Just lunch. Something I'd done 1,000 times without thinking. But to her, it was chaos. Unstructured, imperfect, unpredictable, and somehow enjoyable. I looked at my half-eaten sandwich, then at her, still analyzing every bite like it was a new discovery. Maybe we weren't the standard. Maybe we were the strange ones. And we just didn't notice it, because to us, this was normal. It started with a sound, a soft, irregular tapping against a window, barely noticeable at first, then gradually building into a steady rhythm. I looked up from my phone. Rain, I said, mostly to myself. Behind me, Lyra shifted slightly. She had been standing near the bookshelf for the past 10 minutes, examining the spines of novels like they were encrypted data logs. At the word rain, she turned. The atmospheric condition you described yesterday? She asked. Yep, that one. She moved toward the window, her steps slow and deliberate. By the time she reached it, the rain had picked up, thin streaks sliding down the glass, distorting the view of the street outside. She leaned closer. It is falling. Also part of the rain experience, yeah. Her reflection overlapped with the outside world. Silver skin against gray sky, her eyes tracking each droplet like it had a trajectory she could predict. It appears uncontrolled, she said. That's because it is. She didn't respond. I stood up, stretching. I'm going out. Her head turned immediately. Outside. Yeah. She looked back at the window. While it is still occurring, that's kind of the point. I grabbed my jacket from the chair. It wasn't even that cold, just habit. Humans like layers. Another thing she hadn't fully processed yet. You are voluntarily entering an environment with active precipitation, she said. That's a very formal way of saying, I'm going for a walk. She hesitated. Then, I will accompany you. I paused halfway through putting on my jacket. You sure? I required direct observation. Of course you do. The air outside felt different immediately. Cooler, heavier. The kind of damp that clings to your skin before you even notice it. I stepped out onto the sidewalk. Lyra followed. The first raindrop hit her arm. She froze. Completely. I turned back. You good? She didn't answer. Instead, she slowly raised her arm, staring at the small bead of water resting on her skin. It made contact, she said. Yeah. She didn't move. Another drop hit her shoulder, then another, sliding down the side of her neck. Her posture stiffened. "This is direct environmental exposure," she said. "There is no barrier. You don't need a barrier." She turned her head slightly toward me, but her eyes stayed on the rain. "You are allowing foreign liquid to interact with your external structure without filtration." I shrugged. "It's just water." "That is an assumption. It's a pretty safe one." She extended a finger, catching a falling droplet midair. It clung there for a moment before sliding off. Her eyes flickered again, faster this time. "Analysis confirms H2O composition with trace mineral content," she said. "There are also microscopic biological entities present." "Yep, welcome to Earth. And you are unconcerned by this?" "Not really." She looked around. People were moving through the rain, in all kinds of ways. Some rushed, heads down, jackets pulled tight. Others walked normally, barely reacting. A couple down the street were sharing an umbrella, laughing about something only they understood. One kid jumped straight into a puddle, sending water everywhere. Lyra's gaze followed each of them. "They are not reacting uniformly," she observed. "Nope. There is no standardized response. That would be boring." She turned back to me. "You are not seeking shelter. Not right now. You are not minimizing exposure." "Also correct." "Why?" I stepped a little farther out, away from the building's overhang. The rain hit me properly now. Light, but steady, soaking into my hair, dotted my jacket. I took a slow breath. "It feels nice." She stared at me. "That is not a sufficient explanation. It's the only one I've got." I spread my arms slightly, not dramatically, just enough to feel the rain more evenly. "It's calming," I added. "The sound, the feeling, it just is." She watched me for a long moment. Then she looked back at the sky. Gray, heavy, endless. "This is not controlled," she said again, quieter this time. "Yeah. You cannot predict each droplet." "Nope. You cannot regulate its intensity." "Also nope." And yet, she didn't finish the sentence. I lowered my arms. "You want to try?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stepped forward, just barely leaving protection of the overhang. A single drop hit her again. She flinched, not dramatically, but enough. "This is inefficient," she murmured. "Probably." Another step. Now the rain reached her shoulders, her arms, her face. Droplets clung to her skin, catching the light in strange ways, like tiny fragments of glass. Her body tensed at first. I could see it, every movement slightly rigid, like she was preparing for something to go wrong. "It is cold," she said. "Yeah, that happens." "It is inconsistent. The points of contact are irregular. Still rain." She closed her eyes. That surprised me. For a moment, she just stood there, completely still, letting the rain fall over her. Seconds passed. Then more. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, her posture changed. Her shoulders lowered. Her hands relaxed. When she opened her eyes again, something was different. "It is not unpleasant," she said. I smiled. "Told you." She looked at her hands, turning them slightly as water slid across her skin. "There is no pattern," she said. "No structure. No predictability." "Yeah. And yet the sensory input is acceptable. High praise." She ignored that. Instead, she took another step forward, fully into the rain now, no hesitation. People passed by, barely noticing her. To them, this was normal. Just another person standing in the rain. But I could tell this wasn't normal for her. "This is shared," she said suddenly. "What is?" "This experience." She gestured vaguely around us. The street, the people, the rain itself. "All individuals present are subject to the same environmental condition," she continued. "Yet each responds differently." "Yeah, that's kind of how humans work." She watched the kid jump in another puddle, laughing like it was the best thing in the world. "There is no efficiency in this," she said. "Probably not. And no clear objective. Not everything needs one." She went quiet again. The rain kept falling. For a while, neither of us said anything. We just stood there. Then, softly, "I think I understand," she said. I glanced at her. "Yeah." She hesitated, searching for the right words. "It is not about control," she said finally. "It is about allowing." I raised an eyebrow. "That's surprisingly poetic. I am not attempting poetry. Still counts." She looked up at the sky again, letting the rain hit her face without flinching this time. "I would like to remain here longer," she said. I nodded. "Go for it." I stepped back under the overhang, giving her space. She didn't follow. Instead, she stayed out in the rain, completely still, completely present. And for the first time since she'd arrived on Earth, she wasn't analyzing it. She was just experiencing it. That was when I realized something. To her, this wasn't just weather. It was a completely new way of existing. It happened because of a banana, not a rare alien fruit, not some bioengineered anomaly, just a banana peel. We were in the living room. Evening. The rain from earlier had stopped, leaving the air cool and quiet, the kind of calm that makes everything feel slower. I was sprawled across the couch, half focused on my phone. Lyra sat across from me. Perfect posture, hands resting symmetrically on her knees, like she'd been placed there rather than choosing to sit. On the TV, a video was playing, just random clips. The kind people scroll past without thinking. Then it happened. A guy walking down the street, looking at his phone. A banana peel on the ground. One step. Slip. Complete loss of balance. And then he vanished into a trash can. I lost it. Not just a small laugh. No, this was full, uncontrollable, can't breathe kind of laughter. The kind that hits you out of nowhere and refuses to let go. I leaned forward, gripping the edge of the couch. "Oh my, did you see? He just..." I tried to speak, but dissolved into another wave of laughter. My eyes watered. My chest hurt. I couldn't stop. Across from me, Lyra didn't move. "You are in distress," she said. I shook my head, still laughing. "No, I'm not. This is..." "Hold on. You are exhibiting irregular breathing patterns," she continued. "Your muscular control appears compromised." That's called laughing." She tilted her head. "This is laughter?" "Yeah." She looked back at the screen. The video replayed automatically. The man slipped again, fell again, trash can again. I burst out laughing all over. Lyra watched, completely still. "There's a clear loss of balance," she said. "A failure in locomotion resulting in unintended impact with an environmental object." I wiped my eyes. "You make it sound like a system error." "It is a system error. And it's funny." She turned back to me. "Explain." I opened my mouth, then paused. "I don't know. That is not an explanation. I mean, it just is, okay? It's unexpected. It's ridiculous. There is no benefit to this event," she said. "No gained resource. No acquired knowledge. The individual experienced minor harm and potential social embarrassment." "Exactly. That does not clarify why you are experiencing joy." I leaned back, still catching my breath. "Not everything has to be useful," I said. She went quiet. That usually meant she was processing. But this time, there was something different, slower, more deliberate. She looked back at the screen. The video played again. Slip, fall, trash can. She watched it closely. Too closely. Frame by frame. Almost. "You derive pleasure from unpredictability," she said. "Sometimes, yeah. And from the misfortune of others?" "Okay, when you say it like that, it sounds bad." "It is not inaccurate." I sighed. "It's not about him getting hurt. He's fine. It's just the situation. It's absurd." "Define absurd." I rubbed my face. "Something that doesn't make sense, but in a way that's harmless or unexpected." That definition lacked precision. "Welcome to humor." She frowned slightly. "There are no consistent parameters," she said. "No measurable structure." "Exactly. That should make it incomprehensible." "Sometimes it does." She looked back at the screen again. Slip, fall, trash can. Her eyes narrowed just slightly. Then a sound. Small, sharp, almost like a glitch. She froze. I blinked. Was that? She raised a hand to her mouth immediately. That was involuntary. I stared at her. Did you just laugh? I did not intend to produce that sound. Yeah, that's kind of how it works. She lowered her hand slowly, looking confused. I experienced a sudden shift in internal processing, she said. A release of something. Yeah, that's the laugh. She looked back at the screen. Again. Slip, fall, trash can. This time, it happened again. A slightly longer sound. Still not quite human, but closer. A strange, melodic note layered over itself. She stopped it immediately. This is highly irregular. I grinned. You're doing great. I am not attempting to perform. Still counts. She frowned, but not as sharply as before. There is no logical trigger, she said. There doesn't have to be. It is not efficient. Also true. She hesitated. Then, cautiously, she let the video play again. Slip, fall, trash can. This time, she didn't stop the sound. It came out soft, uneven, almost experimental, but it was definitely laughter. She blinked, like she didn't fully understand what had just happened. It is not unpleasant, she admitted. I leaned back, smiling. Yeah, I said, that's kind of the point. She looked at me. Your species generates joy from randomness, she said. Pretty much. And from shared observation of unexpected outcomes. Yep. She considered that, then glanced back at the screen. Played again. I laughed. Oh, now you're hooked. I am conducting further analysis. Sure you are. I hit replay. Slip, fall, trash can. This time, she laughed first. Not perfectly. Not naturally. Not yet. But it was real. And for the first time since she got here, she wasn't trying to understand humans from the outside. She was starting to feel what it was like to be one. It was late. Not just late as in the time, but the kind of late where everything quiets down, where the world feels like it's holding its breath between moments. We were on the roof. It had become something of a routine over the past few days. No real reason for it. No schedule, no purpose. We just ended up there. Humans did that a lot. Lyra still hadn't fully processed why. The city stretched out below us, lights scattered in uneven clusters, flickering, pulsing, never quite synchronized. Cars moved like slow streams of color. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed briefly, then faded. Above us, the sky, clear tonight, stars sharp and countless, spread across the darkness like something too large to understand all at once. I leaned back on my hands. Looking up, Lyra stood at the edge of the roof. She always stood. You are inconsistent, she said. I didn't even look at her. Yeah, we've established that. She didn't react to the joke. You construct nourishment in inefficient ways, she continued. You expose yourselves to uncontrolled environmental conditions. You derive pleasure from unpredictable and illogical events. I nodded slightly. Still accurate. She turned, her gaze settling on me. By Virilian standards, these behaviors are irrational. I finally glanced over. Then I guess we're rational. She was quiet for a moment. Then she shook her head. No. I blinked. No. She stepped closer, slow and deliberate, like she was choosing each movement instead of letting it happen automatically. That is an incomplete classification. I raised an eyebrow. Okay, then what are we? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked out over the city again. Down below, someone laughed, faint, distant, but clear enough to carry. A group of people crossed the street, talking over each other, not in sync, not orderly. A window lit up in a building across from us. Another went dark. Nothing coordinated. Nothing optimized. Everything happening. You do not eliminate variability, she said finally. Guess not. You allow it. I shrugged. Sometimes you don't get a choice. You do, she replied. You could reduce it. Standardize behavior. Minimize unpredictability. Sounds boring. She looked at me again. That is not a logical counterargument. It doesn't have to be. That stopped her. Not completely, but enough. You accept imbalance, she continued, slower now. Not as a flaw, but as part of the experience. I didn't say anything. You engage with environments you cannot control, she said. You participate in events without guaranteed outcomes. I thought about the rain, about standing there, not knowing when it would stop, not caring. Yeah. Her voice softened just slightly. You feel without requiring justification. That one hit differently. I sat up a bit straighter. What do you mean? She hesitated. That was new. Lyra didn't hesitate. But now she did. You experienced amusement earlier, she said. There was no strategic value. No functional gain. Yeah, but you did not question it, she continued. You did not attempt to rationalize it before experiencing it. I frowned slightly. I mean, why would I? She looked at me like that was the exact point. On Viral, all emotional responses are regulated, she said. They are contextualized, understood before they are expressed. That sounds exhausting. It is efficient. Still sounds exhausting. She didn't argue. Instead, she looked up at the sky. For us, normal is defined by consistency, she said. Predictability. Optimization. I followed her gaze. Stars. So many of them. No pattern I can understand. You call your behaviors normal, she continued. But by our definitions, they are not. I smirked slightly. So we're weird. She shook her head again. No. I looked at her. Her eyes reflected the stars. Not perfectly, not like a mirror, but like they were trying to process something too large. It is something else, she said. Then what? She took a step closer. Not analyzing. Not observing. Just moving. You embrace uncertainty, she said. Her voice was quieter now. More human. You accept outcomes without guarantees. You allow experiences to occur without full understanding. I didn't interrupt. You create meaning from inconsistency, she added. From imbalance. From unpredictability. I let out a slow breath. When you put it like that, it almost sounds intentional. I do not believe it is intentional, she said. I believe it is inherent. I leaned back again, looking up at the sky. Guess we're just built weird. Silence settled again, but it wasn't empty. It felt full. After a while, she spoke again. I experienced something earlier, she said. I glanced at her. Yeah. She nodded slightly. During the precipitation event. The rain. Yes. She paused. I did not attempt to analyze it immediately. I smiled a little. Proud of you. She ignored that. I allowed it to occur, she said, without full comprehension. And she looked down at her hands, like she expected to find something there. It was different. Good different. Another pause. Yes. I nodded. Yeah, that tracks. She looked back at me. I also experienced involuntary vocalization during the visual sequence involving the falling human. I laughed. You mean laughing? Yes. And she hesitated again. That hesitation meant something now. It was not unpleasant, she said. High praise. Again. She stepped closer. Close enough now that she wasn't just part of the scene. She was part of my space. I think, she started, then stopped. I waited. She tried again. I think I would like to continue experiencing these inconsistencies. I smiled. Careful, I said. That's how it starts. She tilted her head. How it starts. Being human. She considered that. Longer this time. Then, for the first time since she arrived, she smiled. Not perfectly. Not practiced. But real. I am beginning to understand, she said. I looked back up at the stars. Good luck, I replied. It doesn't get less weird. I do not require it to, she said. And somehow, that made perfect sense.